Congressman graduated from Auburn University in 1969, and he began his legal career in 1973 after graduating from the University of Alabama School of Law. And, in law school, he earned the Nobel Prize for Distinguished Legal Scholarship. He served in the Alabama National Guard from 1969 to 72 during the Vietnam War. Bachus maintained a private law practice and a lumber company until he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in '92. In the House of Representatives, Congressman Bachus won appointment to such important committees as transport and infrastructure, one of our related panels, judiciary and financial services. His accomplishments for his district and state include work on I-22, the Northern Belt Line, and other major highway and infrastructure projects, establishment of the National Institute.
I just want to call and tell you I'm going to let you hear it if you want to.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Creation of the Harbor River National Wildlife Refuge and construction of the Alabama National Cemetery to honor veterans and their families. Selected by his Republican colleagues as their leader on the Financial Services Committee, as ranking member and chairman, Congressman Bachus assumed his responsibilities while the U.S. financial system confronted its greatest challenges since the 1930s. During the depths of the crisis in fall 2008, he was the first to advocate for capital injections to capital purchase plan to help stabilize the financial sector, a approach was ultimately adopted by the Treasury Department and returned a profit to the U.S. Treasury of more than $15 billion. Among many of Bachus' legislative accomplishments, the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act, Deposit Insurance Reform, Check 21. Congressman Bachus was also regarded with honor for originating the provisions that authorized Medicare coverage to seniors for prostate cancer screening, which started in the year 2000, and provisions that became part of the Jumpstart Business Startups Act. One of his proudest legacies is debt relief, which is credited with reducing hunger and poverty in the world's poorest countries. In addition to his legislative accomplishments, Congressman Bachus is the recipient of numerous prestigious financial, legal, humanitarian, and leadership honors, a voice for racial understanding and reconciliation. Congressman Bachus received the Houghton Leadership Award from the Faith and Politics Institute. Congressman Bachus, I'm tired of reading how long accomplishments you have, and we are proud to have you here in the panel, and we are listening to your opening remarks.
Well, thank you very much. And we had a great visit yesterday, and Mr. Talou, and talked about my visit to Istanbul and watching the fishermen from the bridge. Let me say that I have many, many fond memories of Istanbul. It's just, it's a exquisitely beautiful city. It's just a real treasure. And I almost refused to speak without you inviting me over there. I would have loved to have come there and shared with y'all. As you said, and let me say Tunighten, as I think that's what I remember from my trip. And but I'm honored with your invitation. Let me say that it's an honor to speak to you and to the 38th annual American-Turkish conference. For more than 30 years, this has been one of the most important gatherings of American and Turkish leaders in both business and the government. And as we all know, the pandemic has forced the conference to be conducted virtually this year. But I know this won't stop any of us from celebrating the extensive economic and strategic ties between our two countries, and from working together to grasp the growing opportunities that for more trade and more investment between us. The opportunities range from aerospace to construction, energy, healthcare, manufacturing. Especially exciting is that this first American-Turkish conference since the American-Turkish Council began its new relationship with the United States Chamber of Commerce. Because of this new arrangement, the Council will now have full access to the U.S. Chamber's formidable resources there in Washington and can better coordinate Turkish business interests with those of the United States private sector for the betterment of both the United States and Turkey. On behalf of XM's Chairman Kimberly Reed and Judith Pryor, my former partner board member, there are three of us on the board. We were all approved by the Senate. I was actually the holdover because the Democrats and Republicans agreed on me. They don't agree on a whole lot, but I was honored that they both backed my nomination. I want to thank the Foreign Economic Relations Board of Turkey and the Turkey U.S. Business Council, the Chamber for hosting this year's meeting. I also want to thank all of those in the Turkish government and the business community who've taken the time to attend. A survey by the United Nations Trade Arms ranks our NATO partner Turkey as the number 15 in the whole world in attractiveness as a destination for foreign direct investment. That's something Turkey can be proud of. As in ancient times, Turkey continues to be a great link between the East and the West. Only now with economic and technological advancements, that economic freedom is even more possible. Both Turkey and the United States have large and dynamic economies. Nevertheless, we in America are committed to grow our imports from Turkey and our exports to Turkey. I'm sure that all of y'all agree that this goal is a win-win for both our countries and our workers. President Trump and President Erdogan in June increased the bilateral trade goal between our two nations from 75 billion to 100 billion. So that's a real possibility that we can grow that. Presently it's at 25 billion. But the great news is that since in the first half of 2020, this past year, in spite of all the economic impact of the COVID-19, our trade between our two countries rose 16%. And that was, of course, driven by energy and aviation. I was happy to hear, I listened in on some of the conference. I was happy to hear James Jones, who's the honorary chair of the U.S.-Turkish Business Council, point out in the conference yesterday that despite the pandemic, the United States and Turkey's energy relationship is experiencing a renaissance of sorts. He noted excellent opportunities for growth from LNG, including Turkey's recent natural gas discovery in the Black Sea. I applaud Turkey for that. That's great news. Pipeline projects in Central Asia and Iraq, renewables. Mr. Jones also pointed out that technology and developing secure and safe 5G telecommunication is extremely important, as is healthcare. Healthcare is sort of something that's important everywhere. I would add that improving good governance and the rule of law is also important to the long-term private sector investment and growth in Turkey, and I applaud you for those efforts. We at XM couldn't agree more, and our mission is to support American jobs by facilitating the export of American-made goods and services, and in return to encourage imports into our country. We've launched a new program on China. It's called China and Transformational Exports. It reserves at least $25 billion in financing to neutralize Beijing's export subsidies and support direct exports in 10 key industries. They include, I mentioned 5G, telecommunications, also artificial intelligence, biomedical science, and financial technology. And that just allows us to try to offer some of the same terms that China can offer, the People's Republic. And we just to try to say level the playing field. It's not directed out of anything but our desire to trade with Turkey and other countries and to offer you beneficial terms. On July the 23rd, other members of XM's board and myself, we unanimously approved a transaction to support the export of up to 4 passenger aircraft to Turkish Airlines, estimated a total of $500 million. I think that's a great example of XM fulfilling its purpose, since this financing is needed to the current lack of capacity in the commercial banks and the capital markets for long-term debt from Turkish Airlines. And we've got a great long history of cooperation and partnership with Turkish Airlines. Over the last 20 years, XM has actually provided support for Turkish Airlines purchases of over 70 aircraft, as well as several spare engines. And so we really look forward to partnership and really enjoy the folks there at Turkish Airlines. I believe Istanbul, just as a side, I believe that's the largest, busiest airport maybe in the world or close to it.
It is currently the largest airport in the world.
Yes, and a beautiful airport. American and Turkish businesses will continue to work together, seeking opportunities to expand both our economies and serve the interest of both countries' citizens, utilizing both private lending when it is available and government when it is necessary. Both our nations will benefit from trade relations which avoid predatory lending practices and are designed to support both our economies and our workers. In conclusion, let me say this. As I said as I started, I just loved my visit to Istanbul. My wife is still a little annoyed at me that she didn't make that trip. I remember just wonderful memories like it was yesterday, standing on the shore of the Bosphorus, thinking that it was just almost an unbelievable experience. So much history there, and the Turkish people were so welcoming, so warm, so friendly, and it's my fervent wish that both Turkey and the United States will not only stand firm against any enemy of freedom for the sake of our businesses or our citizens, but that also will continue a long history of friendship and warm relations. And I'll close by saying, and I think I'm saying this right, is it Haskenka? Is that, or Horskenka? Or Horskaka? You can tell I have a southern accent. I'm from the southern region of the United States, and we can't even pronounce the words the same way that our friends in New England and New York do. So thank you, and again, I really enjoyed our visit yesterday, and look forward to you sometimes face to face in Istanbul. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. It was a pleasure to hear you. And hoşça kal, yeah, as we say, goodbye, but we don't want you to leave.
Yeah.
We want you to.
Hoşça or hoşça?
Yeah, hoşça kal.
Now, the horse's mouth. You know,
We,
my
we,
wife and I watch a lot of Turkish. We watch a lot of Turkish movies on Netflix, and just a beautiful. It really, really is. You have a
yeah,
lot to be proud of.
Turkish movie and the serial industry is also very big. We call it the soft power. It's been, spreading. I think it's been watched in
Yes.
150 countries. All the serials. I'm
Yeah.
happy to hear that. Now, before we start the panel, let me also point out that we made a study last year in TAIC and U.S. Chamber to increase that trade volume to 100 billion, the target between two presidents. And we found out that one of the key areas is actually construction partnership
Yeah.
in especially third countries, especially Africa, Central Asia, other places. And the study shows that we can reach annually 13 to 15 billion dollars of trade volume in construction. By 2030, we could have 65 billion dollars of construction work together, US and Turkey. And we are one of the key areas of cooperation is also, we will have in the panel DFC, Development Finance Corporation, represented, but also US Exim Bank. As you know, there is an agreement between US Exim and Turkish Exim. As you pointed out, there is a very good cooperation, and we want that to increase and support our construction businesses also in the other countries to take the Turkish American technologies, workforce, know-how into other countries to develop infrastructure. And we are very happy that you are there, and I'm sure you will help us support all these future endeavors.
Yes, in fact, I grew up in the construction business, and my dad, his very last job was building a high school here in Birmingham, Alabama, and I love the building trades, but I'm just looking forward over the next few years to working with you and our Turkish colleagues and Americans, and enjoying a warm friendship. So thank you again, Rebecca.